Welcome back to the Dr. Cliff Show. Today is part 2 of a 2-part series comparing the pros and cons between over-the-counter hearing aids and prescription hearing aids. Coming up. All right, welcome back. We are live for our 5th episode of the Dr. Cliff Show. And I am Dr. Cliff Olson, audiologist and founder of Applied Hearing Solutions in Phoenix, Arizona. And I am here with my co-host.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Rachael Cook, also an audiologist at Applied Hearing Solutions as well. Thanks for tuning back in again today for part 2 of the differences between OTC hearing aids and prescription hearing aids. So today we'll be reviewing some of the accessibility differences between these two classes of devices, and we'll also be discussing the difference in style options and testing differences to obtain these devices. We'll take a quick break for our Hearing Up Provider Spotlight with Dr. Whitney Swander. I'm definitely looking forward to that. And after that, we will jump into programming differences, treatment success differences, and ongoing support differences between devices. That being said, each of these elements could be their very own show. I think we could talk about these for forever, but we're going to do our best to get through these today as much as we can, and we've got plenty of other shows lined up that we can always sprinkle these things into as well. Just as a reminder, do not forget to drop your questions in the comments, please. We would love to answer them at the end.
Excellent. And you know, these shows would not be possible without our sponsors. And so I want to share a quick story with you guys. I actually had a patient who called up the clinic and said, I accidentally ate my hearing aid. And I know it sounds weird, but she was eating Cracker Jacks. Her hearing aid literally fell out of her ear and she bit into it. And she's like, that's really crunchy. And she spit it out in her hand. Sure enough, it was her hearing aid that she had basically almost completely ingested. And so this is why you need ESCO. So
yes.
ESCO specializes in providing loss and damage and repair insurance coverage for your hearing aids, so you do not have to pay for expensive repairs and replacements before you are actually ready. They actually have a great reminder care program. If you go to esco.com/Dr. Cliff, you can actually enter the serial numbers of your devices into their website, and they will send you a reminder when that warranty is about to expire, and they will even give you a $10 Visa gift card if you go to esco.com/Dr. Cliff.
Yeah, thank you so much to ESCO for that. So jumping straight on into it, we're talking about accessibility differences. And I was talking to you earlier today saying, I feel like we reviewed some of this already, but that's because accessibility and cost kind of play hand in hand with one another. The lower the cost, the more widely accessible. So definitely a relationship between the two of them, for sure.
For sure, yeah. There is cost is a variable of accessibility, but it
Right.
is not the only variable.
Definitely
so when we
not.
talk about accessibility from a cost standpoint, of course, over-the-counter hearing aids are going to be more cost-effective because you are removing the hearing care professional from the equation, okay? But when you start looking at the other aspects of accessibility, it also has to do with where you can actually acquire over-the-counter hearing aids at. So what are some of the places that we can actually get over-the-counter hearing aids?
I think that this is going to be pretty similar right now to where you can pick up things like readers, like non-prescription lenses. So supermarkets, electronics, consumer stores, online, and even some hearing aid clinics plan on getting in on the game for that as well. Which is actually kind of nice just to have a little bit more of a hybrid model, like an OTC device with a little bit of professional guidance and support as well.
Absolutely. That getting your devices in a location is one axis of one part of accessibility. The other part of accessibility is actually if you have issues with your hearing aids, how accessible is audiologic care
Right.
with these devices?
Right. So there's nothing in the legislation or the regulations rather that require any sort of ongoing support, any ongoing care or maintenance. It's going to be interesting to see the landscape for repairs and things like that, because I know that we process repairs in our clinic pretty often. What is the plan on that for these manufacturing brands. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, and we really won't know until we kind of see how that all plays out. You know, I've had conversations with individuals who've purchased direct-to-consumer hearing aids, which is admittedly different than OTC because there's no regulation on DTC.
Right.
But individuals who have had their hearing aids for 6 months and they start failing, and it's like, well, I have no idea where to go or what to do. I call the company and they're like, well, go find a hearing care professional in your area. So from an accessibility standpoint, that kind of puts you from a care perspective back into the same boat as a prescription hearing aid.
Right.
And which kind of leads me into the accessibility aspect of prescription. Obviously, if you want a prescription hearing aid, you have to go into a hearing clinic to get that. You have to get a hearing test done, and everything is essentially handled for you at that clinic. So I would say that from an acquiring of a device standpoint, you have a little bit less accessibility, especially if you live out in the middle of nowhere and you have no access to care. But there's also some benefits from an accessibility standpoint when it comes to repairs and maintenance, right?
You've got someone in your local community who you can go to anytime something is wrong. So with prescription hearing aids, your same provider that tested you, selected your devices for you, and proceeded with fitting and programming those devices for you is also the same type of person that's going to be handling the repairs, the ongoing maintenance, the troubleshooting, things like that. So that definitely is a higher level of access in that regard.
Absolutely. So, you know, pros and cons to everything here, right? You just have to weigh out what's most important to you. And when it comes to accessibility, there's definitely pros and cons on both sides.
For sure.
Now, something that I find to be interesting is that there are a variety of different styles of hearing aids, prescription hearing aids, as well as direct-to-consumer hearing aids right now that are out on the market. But let's talk a little bit about the style differences between an OTC device compared to a prescription level device.
Yeah, so OTC hearing aids, I presume, again, we haven't really seen them yet all the way, but we plan to. I presume they're going to come in 3 main style options: a behind the ear option with tubing, and then some sort of non-custom dome or mold. Same thing with the RIC device as well. That's a receiver and canal device. That will again be more of a non-custom option with maybe a couple of tips that you can switch out between the devices. And then potentially some in-the-ear bud type of styles, whether that's all the way down in the ear or kind of sits a little bit further out, more like a headphone type of a style. Again, very likely some sort of coupling things that you can change out, but limited in terms of full customization when it comes to fit.
Absolutely. You know, there are a couple of companies out there right now. So the Jabra Enhance Plus is kind of like a self-fitting hearing aid that is going, we know it is going to transition into an over-the-counter device. You have the Apple AirPods, which they've got to make sure that they follow the regulations, because as of right now, I don't know if they would actually meet the requirements to be considered an OTC device.
Right.
So they'll probably have to file for that. But what are we looking at in terms of prescription hearing aids then, right? So we have receiver and canal, like you mentioned. We have kind of like almost like an earbud style hearing aid. So if you want your hearing aids to look like an earbud, you have that option. You have, for individuals who have severe to profound hearing loss, you have a BTE, which is behind the ear, that uses a tube that goes into a custom ear mold. And then you have pretty much any invisible style at your disposal when you come to prescription hearing aids, and then anything in between.
And
so
anything
like
in between.
Literally, if you want it to be a certain style with prescription, you have every possible style available to you.
Right. Yeah. I think too, you know, a lot of these devices, they really only function at their full capacity when there is a certain level of customization in the programming and a certain level of customization with the actual acoustic coupling. And when I'm talking about that, I'm saying either an ear mold or or an ear mold or the actual device itself being fully customized. And so it'll be interesting to see with the OTC devices, are they able to accommodate those losses in a way without any of that customization?
I mean, because that's a struggle that we run into in the clinic. I produced a video on my YouTube channel a couple of weeks ago talking about how a 50-cent piece of rubber that goes onto the tip of your hearing aid can totally destroy a hearing aid that costs you thousands of dollars.
Can literally make or break your
right?
experience.
So like if you're going to be getting OTC hearing aids from a customization standpoint, you're going to have to know the exact right type of dome to use on that. Or, you know, if they even have options, I don't know. We will see that, though, in the future.
We will be finding out soon.
And so that kind of leads us into the testing requirements to obtain these devices. So you will be able to do an online hearing test. There's some online hearing screeners right now. Hopefully they'll have ones that are fully calibrated so you get an accurate result when you're actually getting your OTC devices. But a lot of them are going to have these apps that you're going to be able to use to customize the audio to some degree. At an absolute minimum, you're going to have some kind of volume control to adjust on these devices.
Yeah,
right?
That is actually required. So all of the devices, regardless of their customization capacity through an app, are required to have some sort of a volume control, whether that's a volume control wheel, toggle, something like that.
Right.
Potentially, we might run into, did you just say questionnaires?
Yeah, so I didn't mention questionnaires yet, but I do
okay.
think that is going to be something. I know that some direct-to-consumer hearing aid manufacturers right now are using questionnaires to try to evaluate whether or not a hearing aid is actually appropriate to where maybe it's more of a conductive type loss or something caused by earwax or something like that, that would preclude you or not allow you to get an over-the-counter hearing aid because you actually need to go seek out medical treatment if that questionnaire identifies that, you're not a good candidate for these devices.
That's something that's also a piece of the regulation as well, is that the box will have a couple of like screening type of questions. There's the screeners to avoid those red flag conditions that we've talked about in the past, but there's also some screening questions to help you determine better, do you fall into more of the mild to moderate hearing loss category, or do you actually fall into more of the moderate to severe to profound, things like that. So the box itself will also have that on it.
For sure. So make sure you're watching or reading the boxes of those. It'd probably be very fine print, so just make sure you bring your reading glasses, whether they're over-the-counter reading glasses or prescription,
or prescription, either one.
The other thing here is, so prescription hearing aids, there is still requirements for being able to dispense those. So you actually have to have an audiologic evaluation. Virtually every state in the United States requires, not virtually, every state in the United States requires that you have a professional hearing evaluation before you can be fit with a prescriptive level hearing aid. What are all the components of a full audiologic exam?
Oh goodness. Okay, we start with some screening questions as well and move into otoscopy, which would be a physical examination of the outer ear, making sure that there's no wax that's blocking or anything that's blocking. I mean, we see all sorts of things in ears sometimes. After that, we'll do some testing to tones, and we'll do that a couple of different ways so that we can determine the type of hearing loss that you have, whether it's a conductive loss or whether it's a sensory neural loss or a combination of the two. We do some pretty significant speech testing, especially at our clinic, and that's why it's, again, important to see a best practices provider, because not all clinics do all the same speech testing, but we do some in the presence of background noise as well as in quiet. And if there are any pressure concerns, or patients sometimes report fluid buildup or negative pressure after flying and traveling, we can also do some middle ear pressure tests like tympanometry to examine the status of the middle ear.
Yeah, I think a lot of audiologist concerns from an OTC standpoint really comes down to the testing aspect. We find crazy stuff in hearing tests all the time, and things that would go unidentified through just listening to some beeps through a device in an app, right? That doesn't tell you how good you'll actually perform when you amplify sound up to your full level that you need to restore your hearing to some degree. If you have poor word recognition ability, we have no way of improving that dramatically, and you wouldn't even know that, right, until you actually got a full diagnostic test. So I would say that that's a valid concern, and some people are going to be left behind on that, unfortunately, but the FDA is willing to let that happen.
Willing to risk it.
Pros and cons for them too, right?
I'd say our testing a lot of times does actually end up in a referral to a provider who is outside of our scope. Most often that's going to be an ENT provider, but sometimes that's cochlear implantation specialists or audiologists that specialize in that, pediatric providers, I mean, things like that. So very often we have referrals outside of just audiology, and you wouldn't know that you needed to see a different provider because you weren't being tested by someone who referred you. So.
Absolutely. Well, we're about ready to do our Hearing Up Provider Spotlight, but we do have a sponsor before that.
That we do. So our next sponsor is going to be Eosera. Eosera has a comprehensive lineup of ear care products for earwax, ear pain, and ear itch. I'd like to talk again this week about that Earwax MD, because we use this product in the office when we have that stubborn wax that just refuses to come out, and we use it because it works. It is clinically proven to break up wax within 15 minutes so that you can flush it all out. And their Earwax MD kit actually comes with a bulb syringe so that you're able to flush the ear and use it in the comfort of your own home. So Earwax MD, as well as all of Eosera's other ear care products, are available at CVS, Walmart, Walgreens, most national retailers. And if you visit eosera.com and use the promo code CLIFF20, you get 20% off your entire purchase.
Awesome. Thank you, Eosera. So it is now that time for our Hearing Up Provider Spotlight. Now, if you guys do not know what Hearing Up is, it is a network of hearing care professionals that are committed to following best practices when it comes to audiologic care. So I'm super excited to find out who is it that we have today.
Today we've got Dr. Whitney Swander. Dr. Whitney Swander received her master's in audiology from the University of Northern Colorado and then went on to receive her doctorate in audiology from A.T. Still University in 2008. That same year, she purchased 2 of the 4 private practice locations in the Front Range of Colorado by the name of Hearing Healthcare Centers and ended up helping the business grow to 7 different locations. Dr. Swander is a member of both the American Academy of Audiology and the Academy of Doctors of Audiology and was also awarded a Notable Woman in Healthcare in 2021 by Biz West. So thanks for joining us, Dr. Swander.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Excellent. We're so excited to have you. So we're doing a lot of talking here about OTCs and prescription hearing aids. How are you planning on handling OTC hearing aids in your clinic?
I think the jury's out. One concern that I have is that there might be just a flood of products to the market, and it could be really challenging to keep track of all of the different options. As we know, it can be challenging to have repair forms accessible to all of the manufacturers that currently exist, and there are only a handful of those to worry about. So if there are now, dozens and dozens of new products on the market, trying to keep track of all of them, keep parts or any support in the office is going to be really challenging.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there at all. I think that there's going to be definite logistic issues inside the clinic, at least starting out trying to figure out how do we navigate all of this, right? So is it even possible to follow best practices when it comes to OTC hearing aids? What's your opinion on that?
That's also a really good question, and I still think the jury is out with that as well. If there are programming options that have some accessibility, like with a cell phone or something like that, maybe, possibly. But I don't know if a cell phone app is going to be able to provide the customization, the personalization, and the sound quality options in terms of the technology that exists to shape to a prescription, to reach real ear targets. So, and then as Dr. Rachael explained with the couplings, that can make a big difference and can make or break a fitting. So if the parts and pieces that come with that product are just not available to provide a good enough fit for that person, they're just not going to get the benefit that they're hoping to get.
Right.
Yeah, I've tried to manipulate direct-to-consumer devices, and again, I want to make sure that we're clear here. A direct-to-consumer hearing aid is not an official over-the-counter hearing aid.
Different.
They are different, and we won't officially have over-the-counter hearing aids really probably until October of this year or later. And I've struggled with some of the DTC devices. What I'm really hoping is that we start to see an improvement in these companies understanding that these individuals, they're not one size fits all. Like, even OTC devices are going to have some level of customizability. And I think we were talking about this the other day about how do we even run a test box measure on an OTC device if we have no way to put it into manufacturer settings, right?
Very good point.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. I agree with you, though. I think that the jury is out on it. I've generally been in support of this, but I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong on this. This could be a crash and burn situation with OTC, or it could be something that is beneficial, or a mixture of the two. Right?
For sure. Now, do you think?
And I think there's benefit. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go for it.
I think the best potential for OTC devices is it is getting people talking about hearing, and it is getting people researching hearing. And when they do the research, there's so much out there now about the relationship between untreated hearing loss and cognitive issues, memory loss, leading to dementia, Alzheimer's, also social isolation, depression, things like that. So when people really start looking into it, even if they had the perception of, oh, I just need a little device to get me by some of the time, they might realize, wow, it's a bigger problem than I thought. It has more impact on my life than I thought. And maybe I really am worth the investment in a prescriptive device.
Yeah, excellent points there.
Do you think that there's some like mirroring of what happened with OTC eyeglasses when it comes to OTC hearing aids? Do you think there's some similarities there?
There are, in terms of people, well, I think people perceive a similarity between them. I think what they're going to find is that there's not so much similarity. Hearing is just not as simple. If you're sitting in a drugstore and you don't know, you're 40 something and you don't know if you are having that much trouble reading or not, you put on a pair of reading glasses and you instantly read the print better and you go, oh, these are for me. Hearing aids don't work that quickly. They're not always that instant in terms of benefit. And as we've been talking about, there are a lot more pieces and parts to have to deal with, a lot more electronics to worry about. And it's not going to be just a quick and easy, yes, this is what I need. It's going to do the trick for me.
Yeah, all very valid points for sure.
Super valid. Yeah, I completely agree with you there. I can't even remember the last time in clinic that I fit the same device with the same receiver wire, with the same acoustic coupling, with the same programming settings, with the same. It doesn't happen. It is so individualized. It is so customized that I do agree there are just way too many variables to say it's as easy as getting a non-prescription pair of lenses. So
I think there are some people who they're down for getting 50% of the benefit or 20% of the benefit. Like there are people out there like that. I like to be sensitive to that mindset as well of individuals. If it's a more accessible and affordable option for them, to let them kind of take that potentially a stepping stone, or maybe that's the end game for them, right?
Yeah, totally fine. I mean,
absolutely,
time will tell for sure.
Yep.
Okay, well, where can people go to learn more about you and about your clinics?
So we have 7 locations in Colorado. Our website is hearinghealthcarecenters.com. And I did notice, I don't know if this was my fault, but a typo in the phone number. So the phone number on the screen, it is actually supposed to be 303-558-5811. So sorry
okay,
about
one more
that.
5 in there. Let me repeat that. So the phone number for the Hearing Healthcare Centers in Colorado is 303-558-5811. There we go. We fixed it.
Fixed
there
it.
we go.
Perfect.
Thank you.
How about that?
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It's really been a pleasure with you. To be honest, you are the first Hearing Up provider who has had a flawless audio experience on this show. So hopefully we can keep that ball rolling.
Fantastic. Glad to have it.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right, we'll see you soon, okay? Yep, you got it. Awesome. All right, so me and Dr. Swander have been friends for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think 2019 is when I first met her at a conference down in Naples, Florida, and we've remained good friends ever since. And of course, if you want to be a really good friend of me, you follow best practices, right? And she does, and that's why we love her so much. So
yeah, oh, definitely. You can tell she definitely knows her stuff, and I can sense that some of the weirdness about OTC devices is just because she really wants the best for her patients.
For sure.
And she wants those best practices to be followed. And if she doesn't know that it's not being followed, then she's like, oh, I don't know. And I agree with that, right? So as audiologists, I think we're all kind of like, we're not exactly sure how it's going to go, but I think we've been trying to stay pretty neutral about it and just let OTC have a real shot before we really write it off
for sure,
entirely.
Right? I mean, a lot of our past experience thus far has been with direct-to-consumer that has had no regulation whatsoever.
Yeah, it's been the Wild West.
I'm just praying that the FDA actually regulates this category.
This is
and
true.
if they do, I believe it will be a good thing for individuals with hearing loss.
Me too.
But before we continue to discuss the differences between OTC and prescription, we are going to jump into our next sponsor segment here. So I'm going to talk about the Customs by Resound right now. So if you guys have not checked checked out these devices going to resound.com, you absolutely should. These devices, you can tell that they were inspired by Jabra because they are a sleek-looking custom in-the-ear hearing aid, and they are fully customizable. So when we talk about programming a hearing aid, if you have a custom-fit hearing aid, you know the acoustic coupling is right, okay? So getting a custom hearing aid is a fantastic idea. These are fully customizable, and you have a smartphone app. You have a smartphone app that works with these guys as well, okay? And I'm actually gonna put one in my right ear here so you can see what it looks like. These are also Bluetooth connectable, so if you want to stream audio from your smart device, you can do that as well. And they really do kind of look like Bluetooth earbuds, so no one's really even going to have a clue that you're wearing hearing aids.
Right.
Possibly my favorite thing about them is that Resound does accept 3D ear scans for these, so your hearing care professional can literally use lasers to get an impression of your ear and send it off to Resound right off the bat. If you guys want to learn more about these devices, go to resound.com and check them out.
Okay, moving right along. We're jumping into programming differences between OTC hearing aids and prescription hearing aids. Now, I think we're going to see two different classes of devices pop up within the OTC hearing aid category, which is a self-fitting device and a non-self-fitting device. Now, these self-fitting devices are definitely going to involve the consumer or the user in the end result of the product there, whether that's through a smart app or a computer app or those questionnaires to really dial in some of the sound quality characteristics, volume characteristics, things like that. I don't know how many options that they'll have. They might just get like a couple of A/B comparisons and pick what they like the best. Time will tell.
Which wouldn't be a bad idea, honestly,
Not
to
terrible.
do A/B comparisons. I think that that's a fairly valid way to go about approaching a hearing aid fitting. One thing that I've noticed from direct-to-consumer style devices, which I think the early OTCs will mimic, is that they do have a significant amount of adjustment bands in there, but when you're doing real ear verification on them, you make an adjustment and the curve doesn't move at all in our programming screen. So it tells me that even though it gives you an adjustment, it doesn't necessarily mean that it will translate to anything inside of your ear canal.
Yeah.
Now, I have tested other direct-to-consumer devices that when you make an adjustment, you actually see it and you can measure it, and it looks pretty good, to be honest with you. So I think there will be the ones that are customizable to a degree, definitely a smarter route to go if you have any amount of tech savviness.
Right.
But maybe, you know, having one that just has a simple volume control might be good for someone who has absolutely no clue what they're doing,
and
right?
who does not want to deal with any of the programming of it. They just want to put it on and hope that it works. I'm going to backtrack for a second because we were talking about the A/B comparisons there. One thing that I will note is that it is a little interesting to have the consumer or the end user picking what they prefer out of the devices, because as we see in clinic very often, what our recommendations are from an amplification standpoint versus what a patient wants to hear. Sometimes we have to do some significant counseling to get patients adjusted to that level of amplification, to get them adjusted to hearing those high frequencies again. So I don't know if it's as easy as being, oh, well, pick, do you like this one or this one? It's not always the one that you like being the one that you need.
That's true. I think people sometimes pick comfort over benefit.
For sure.
And if you let everybody pick what's comfortable, they would say, oh, well, my hearing right now with the hearing loss is what's comfortable to me.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And then when you're giving them amplification, you're right. It takes us 30 to 45 days to get someone to acclimate to the actual amount of amplification that they need, and they progress over the course of time. So don't give up. I mean, with the OTC device, you know, continue to push the limits of what you can tolerate, but also be careful not to damage your hearing, because those output limits can get pretty high.
They certainly can. So prescription hearing aids, on the other hand, are going to be all that programming, all the adjustments, all the fine tuning is going to be completed by a hearing healthcare professional. So it'll be in their hands. And that's one of the things that I really like about the prescription hearing aids, is that the end result of how you do with the devices, of course, requires your involvement up to a degree, but how the devices are set and programmed and how they function for you are largely dependent on your provider doing what they need to do.
And this is exactly why we have Hearing Up providers, right? We need people, and here's the thing, I want to make sure I'm clear here. There are other providers that are out there that are not a part of the Hearing Up provider network. And And if that is what you have access to, absolutely go and see them. But any prescriptive hearing aid is only as good as the person who's actually programming it. So I don't want to sound all high and mighty here that a prescription hearing aid is so much greater than an OTC hearing aid.
Right.
It could perform literally the same way or worse depending on how it's programmed, right?
Totally. And there's plenty of providers out there, that may not be in the Hearing Up network as well that may follow best practices. At that point, it is definitely worth asking your providers, are you able to provide these best practices benchmarks? So you have plenty of lists on your website that have the checklists of what your provider should go through. So if you have a provider in the community that maybe you're not sure, ask them. Ask if they've got the equipment.
That's right. Print out the checklist. You can go to hearingup.com, go to the resources tab, print them off. There's like 5 or 6 pages of them, and it's all in checklist format, so it's easy to follow. And if you're not sure about what any of those are, you can always go to the YouTube channel and watch my videos where I talk about best practices ad nauseum, right?
Right. So I think the main difference here is that we also have these prescriptive targets for the devices that have been developed by using decades and decades of research to determine how much amplification is needed at specific frequencies when you have a certain level of hearing loss within those ranges. This changes if you're, these prescriptive targets change if you're male to female. These prescriptive targets change based on your age. These prescriptive targets also change based on your experience level with amplification. Those are all things that the provider is taking into account when actually programming these devices.
Absolutely. And I think that this goes into considering what the current treatment acceptance rates are with over-the-counter, DTC devices, right? And prescription devices at this point. So there is information that is floating around out there from reputable sources that I know that are talking about some of these major players in the DTC category right now that are reporting that 2/3 of the individuals who order their products are not good candidates for their products, and either they end up not using them or they end up sending them back for a return, which is a little bit of a concern here. And I don't know if having better customizability will help with that, or if the individuals who are thinking that OTC is going to be the answer, they're actually at too severe of a hearing loss level, because these are for mild to moderate cases of hearing loss, and currently they're set up that way. We'll see if that changes here in the near future. And this does go back to the discussion of accessibility, that you won't know if you're really a candidate for it unless you try it, and then unless you make sure that they're actually set up the right way. So you might need to reach out to a hearing care professional to figure that out, right?
Definitely. And there's not going to be a guarantee, at least not written in the regulations just yet, that there are any sort of firm return policies, if you will. So there is the potential that you end up purchasing a device that can't be sent back, even though it's not appropriate for your hearing loss.
And states cannot protect you.
Nope.
Right?
Nope.
Like all of this stuff is preempted, right? It essentially goes away when it comes to, states mandating anything about an OTC hearing aid, except for the professional fitting of an OTC device, which I find comical.
I also find comical. Yeah, it's like...
So we could technically lose our license if we take an OTC device and professionally fit you with it, potentially. Now, every state's going to open up its rule books and say, okay, what's not. Hopefully, if a lot of these states have some logic to them, they will say, no, you're not going to lose your license if you try to help somebody with an OTC hearing aid and fit them with it, right?
I hope not. I mean, fingers crossed on that one.
So let's talk about prescription hearing aids then. What's this treatment success rate, in the United States with prescription level devices?
Last research that's been done on that shows about an 83% success rate with prescription hearing aids. We definitely see in our clinic, I mean, we're at over 90, and I don't think that that's because, we're not saying, oh, we're the best ever. We just follow the steps that are needed to ensure that patients have good outcomes. And so from a prescription hearing aid standpoint, definitely a higher success rate than what we've seen with the limited research that we have on DTC, OTC products.
Yeah, I think a lot of the best practice clinics, and so there was actually a survey done inside of our social media groups, we'll say. And you can't guarantee that those are going to be exactly accurate, but The clinicians who follow best practices, their return rates, treatment success rates are above 99%. And we actually looked at it the other day. We're above 99% treatment success in our clinics. And we're not just getting all the easy cases of, oh, just slap the hearing aids on and you're good to go. Like, we get really some of the trickier cases, probably just because people see the video content and they have a high expectation of what they'll get. As of right now, we're meeting the expectation.
Right. There's also a little bit of difference and we talked about this, ongoing support. So that's huge too. With OTC, we're not exactly sure. We talked about this earlier, saying that there might be some support for you moving forward. There might not. It's going to depend on the company. It's going to depend on the manufacturer. It's likely going to be online based or phone based. Again, that in-person support actually starts falling into that wishy-washy area of, do you now need to have a license? Do you need to be a certified provider? What can you do and can't you do with that OTC device? So I think they're probably going to keep people out of it for a while, in-person support out of it for a while, to avoid any issues with that. And then it might just take a while for them to figure out, okay, how do we involve a person in the ongoing support here?
Right. And I think some of them have a decent virtual support. So if you have concerns, but we have limitations when we provide virtual support. I mean, I literally had a patient today that is having issues with their hearing aid. She lives in a different state from ours. And I was trying to figure out what was going on. I'm like, you know what? I actually need to get hands on your devices because I'm not sure if your microphone ports are clogged, wax traps. I'm not sure if your ear canals are filled with earwax. It's cerumen, right? So there's a lot of question marks there. And, we talked about ESCO, hearing aid insurance. What happens when your OTC hearing aids go out of warranty, if they have a warranty? Are you going to be able to purchase third-party insurance on your devices? That would be a big question that is unknown, essentially, at this point.
Totally to be determined. Now, we know that on the other side of that, with prescription devices, a lot of that ongoing care and ongoing support, again, is on the professional at that point. Again, there's limitations even with seeing a professional in terms of ongoing support as well. So sometimes there are fees for service ongoing after a certain point. The remote care options, for a while there, we couldn't make any adjustments for tinnitus concerns or anything. They've since changed that, but things are always going to be changing in this landscape in support and ongoing care. And so it's just important that we all stay up to date on the rules and the regulations and everything like that, because it's changing every single day.
And even though you do get access to in-office support, I want to play a little bit of devil's advocate here. So we have patients, we live in Arizona. We practice in Arizona. There are patients who are snowbirds who come down here and then they go back to their home state for 6 months out of the year when it's scorching hot down here in Phoenix. And, I try to get people to go into a provider who is going to give them attentive care and really make sure that they give them a good experience. And yesterday we had a patient come in and said, hey, that place you recommended that I go that was close to where I live, it was a horrible experience. In fact, I didn't even get my problem solved. That's how bad of an experience it was, to the point where they literally flew back to Arizona to get the problem solved.
Here.
And so I don't want to make it sound like, with prescription hearing aids, you're not going to run into some issues when it comes to service and support. You still have to make sure that the provider that you go to, when you think about it, that is what you're paying for. When you get prescription, you're paying for great technology and you're paying for a great hearing care professional to take care of it for you. And if you get anything less than great when it comes to prescription level hearing aids, the provider is doing you a disservice.
Right. Sure enough. There's always going to be two sides to that for sure. So we're going to jump into our very last sponsor segment here before we get into questions. So my last sponsor segment here is going to be for Sound Oasis. So if you have tinnitus, you know that quiet environments can definitely make tinnitus more noticeable. Well, Sound Oasis has an entire lineup of sound generator products to help out with that, including their BST 100, which I'm going to be talking about today. The BST 100 has built-in sleep sounds plus Bluetooth audio, so you can hook your device up to it. And what's nice about that one is it's got its own little sound card there, and you can actually build your own custom sound machine by selecting between 10 and 20 sounds from the Sound Oasis sound library. Now, the BST 100 can also stream music via Bluetooth from your phone or computer, so you can enjoy your own music or use sound options from their many apps that they have, including nature sounds, tinnitus therapy, pet therapy, and white noise. So visit the App Store and type in Sound Oasis to try these apps out yourself. The light version is free, but with the purchase of any of the Sound Oasis products, you're actually able to utilize the Pro version for free as well once you pair your device to the phone. So be sure to visit soundoasis.com and use promo code SLEEP. That will give you 20% off any of their products.
That's awesome. You know, I did confirm, I did talk to my parents because I thought my mom and dad had one of those, and my mother is the only one that has one, and my dad was upset that I don't talk about him enough on the show. So there you go, Dad. You're welcome.
We'll need to get one for him too.
That's awesome. So we are at the segment of our show where we're going to be doing Q&A. So we've got Kelsey back on the show again today. So fun fact here, we woke up this morning at around 2 in the morning to do a media day all morning. And so Kelsey actually, I think, got in like a 30-minute power nap in the afternoon, and she made it back for the show. That's because she loves you guys.
Yes, it was very important for me to come back. I love getting to interact with everybody online, and I love getting to sit here and ask you guys the wonderful questions from our audience. So we're going to jump right in.
Let's do it.
The first is actually a concern about OTC hearing aids. How will insurance companies or workman's comp handle OTC hearing aids? Will they only pay for OTC, or do you still think they may cover prescription hearing aids?
State law is totally going to determine that one, I think. A lot of workman's compensation and also like vocational rehab programs run at the mercy of state legislation. So I think it's really going to vary state to state. I don't know. What do you think?
You know, I think that there's potential for lobbying to happen here to where these workman's comp companies can try to influence their way to getting OTC to be approved for that, so these workman's comp, plans don't have to pay out as much money.
Yeah.
And I hate to be an alarmist with this, but I think that there's going to potentially be some more insurance company involvement that is going to try to, use this OTC as a way to reduce the payout that they have for their members who need to treat their hearing loss.
Yeah. Just be careful, be cautious, read up on your laws, and know.
Or it's going to be the opposite, where they're like, no, we're going to legitimately get our members hearing aids because we want them to be taken care of. So the good insurance companies are going to do that. The potential shady ones are going to try to backdoor it. So.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Good question, though.
It's a really good question, and it's a really valid concern as well.
Yeah.
The next question we have from a viewer is, if I buy a hearing aid, an OTC, and can provide the hearing test results to their support, do you think that hearing aid brand or the OTC brand support will be able to program it remotely?
Yeah, I think that actually is how some of the OTC devices are going to go. Again, I still don't know how that's going to work with laws, though, because the whole point of OTC is zero requirement for a hearing test at all. And if the hearing device is only able to function at its capacity with input, thresholds from a hearing test, that's not an OTC device anymore.
Yeah, I'm very opinionated on this, and I've been giving the same answer forever. Now, I do want to touch base on something that you said there. I don't think so. The requirements are what are mandated. So a company can say, oh yeah, send us your test results, even though we're not required to do this. Like, you can send them to us and we'll pre-program some stuff into your hearing aids. But you cannot pre-program a hearing aid based off of an audiogram. Everybody's ear canal is different and its shapes sound different. You can have two people with identical audiograms, program hearing aids for them, put them in their ears, and one would say, oh, this sounds okay. The other one's like, this is horrible.
Right.
Because you have to customize it after you've placed it inside of someone's ear using real ear measurements. And so any company, whether it's a prescription aid that you try to buy online, that they say, oh, we'll just upload your audiogram, it will not be customized properly.
No.
Okay, because 0% of hearing aids that I have ever fit inside the clinic that I hit the auto program button based off of an audiogram came back programmed perfectly. 0%.
It's never been knocked out of the park.
Right?
No.
So obviously you can tell I get fired up about that because it is the most ridiculous thing ever, and people need to know that it is absolutely ridiculous when they're trying to say that I'm going to custom program your hearing aid by you sending us an audiogram.
Well, also it's like, well, then why do I have a license? Because I have to have a license to program a device. So are these providers on the other end, providers even, I don't even know if we can use that word, is the individual that works for that company who's now pre-programming this device, do they have a license? It's like
it's the best guess. I have no idea.
And then, to further that point, if you do call customer support and ask, questions, do they then have the knowledge and training to then know how to address the issue that you're complaining about, rather than, oh, I think it might be this, let's make a little tweak here and there and then send you on your way. Whereas, we've spent years in school and then in practice learning these tips and tricks so that we can make sure that those adjustments are made appropriately so that you get the benefit you're looking for. So there's always that, question as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think I'm just, with everything and every question probably, I'm going to say at some point, like, proceed with caution. Proceed with caution with a provider and proceed with caution with OTC devices.
Yep.
Like, just do your due diligence, do your homework, ask the questions, make sure that you know what you're getting into before you're getting into it, I think.
Yeah, that best practices checklist that you provide on the Hearing Up website is an excellent resource, absolutely.
Yeah.
Another question is, I wonder about, in the case of a cookie bite hearing loss, even if it's mild to moderate, are OTCs able to accommodate that kind of prescription?
The best audiologists in the world struggle with treating that type of hearing loss. And I'm talking like the Whitney Swanders, I'm talking the Dr. Rachael Cooks, all of us struggle with it. And because everybody perceives sound differently when it comes to cookie bite, reverse slope, high frequency sloping, even the basic stuff people struggle with, and no one's identical, right? But cookie bites, boy, that is going to be a tall order for an OTC. If there's an OTC out there that's guaranteed 100% to treat cookie bite, first off, I don't believe you. And second off, I would say it should be worth 20 grand.
Yeah. No, those are difficult enough, even with the level of training, knowledge, expertise that we have. Like you said, every single person perceives those so differently. So if an OTC device can knock it out of the park, it's worth its weight in gold.
Sign me up.
I was going to say, let me know if that happens.
Exactly. We're going to have to get our hands on that one, right?
Yeah, seriously.
All
right. So I think that we are good for today.
Okay.
We covered a ton of stuff.
We went fast, but we did it.
And I'm just blown away. So who knows what we'll talk about next week. I'm sure that we've got something good in store, but we'll probably be off of OTC next week for at least a couple of weeks, right?
We'll kind of like reset a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Maybe in October when those regulations get finalized, I think we'll most definitely
start seeing the devices on the market maybe. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, once they start coming out, I'm ready to start talking about it.
Awesome,
so.
Me too. All right, well, Kelsey, thank you again for coming on the show. I appreciate your commitment to the team here, okay? So, guys, thank you as well for joining us on the show today. I think that it went much smoother than what it has been going for a lot of the episodes, so I'm super jazzed about that. But as you know already, you can find us every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Arizona time. You can watch us on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and WTSM TV. And as always, we'll see you next week.